On the lineup today, a comprehensive preview of Super Bowl 47 and Alex Rodriguez. Stick around. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lions Lineup, the sports show here at Lions Television. I'm joined here today by Chris Gravick and Joe Caputo. And I'm going to hand over to Joe now, who's going to take a look at the 49ers, how they got to the Super Bowl, and what they need to do to come out on top.
Well, thanks, Joe. It's been just over a year since the people of San Francisco were heartbroken. A couple of fumbled punts were all that stood in the way of their team's 6th all-time Super Bowl appearance. A rare opportunity that many say does not come around very often had been wasted. But against all odds, the 49ers have worked their way back to where they wanted to be. However, they have not done it without major changes and overcoming adversity. The biggest factor responsible for the 49ers' return to success is their similar roster. The 49ers brought back their entire starting defense, which definitely lived up to its expectations this season. But someone who definitely didn't have expectations coming into the season, that would be second-year quarterback Colin Kaepernick out of Nevada. A man whose name had next to no significance to 49er fans coming into this season has now become iconic out by the Bay. Kaepernick took over as starter a little more than halfway through the start of the season, and due to injury after an injury to Alex Smith, and never looked back. And on top of outperforming all expectations, his new motion of kissing his bicep that he calls Kaepernicking has even dethroned Tebowing as the newest craze across America. Other than the quarterback change, the 49ers experienced other obstacles throughout the course of the season as well. Injuries to backup running back Kendall Hunter and number 2 wide receiver Mario Manningham looked as if they would greatly hinder the dynamic ability of the San Fran offense, while a late season injury to the rock of their defense, Justin Smith, seemed to put them at a major disadvantage entering the postseason. However, in all instances, the 49ers were able to overcome the odds and now will play for a Super Bowl title this weekend in New Orleans. During the regular season, the 49ers ranked in the top 5 in rushing yards for, total yards against, and opponent points per game. And in the postseason, their offensive numbers seem to be getting even better. Therefore, looking back at the 49ers season that was, what has been the key to success all year, and what must they do on Sunday to take down Baltimore and maintain their flawless Super Bowl record? Guys?
Well, personally, I feel as if the 49ers are going to win this game. It's going to come down to the play of Colin Kaepernick, to the play of Frank Gore, and the offense. We all know what the defense can do. It's just, can they keep up with the Baltimore defense, which personally I feel is a little bit overrated. I don't think they had that good of a year. They were largely middle of the pack when it comes to the statistics this season on defense. I think that Ray Lewis is getting older, and despite his good postseason, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up. The 49ers offensive line, anchored by Joe Staley, Mike Iupati, should have no problem at all taking care of the Baltimore defensive line. Ed Reed's getting a little older, and if they're going to be sticking him on Vernon Davis, I think Vernon Davis is going to be able to run circles around Ed Reed. It comes down to the offense. Can they execute? Can they stay away from turnovers, which Kaepernick has had a little problem with this postseason?
I agree 100%, Joe. The 49er defense has been basically the rock for the team the whole entire season. We know that, but like you said, Colin Kaepernick has come on and really taken the league by storm with his legs and with his cannon arm. And I feel like you said, if Kaepernick and Gore and their receivers, Moss and Crabtree, come to play, definitely they're going to have a huge advantage. But a big thing for me here is, obviously, like we said, is their defense. Their defense has been so dominant the entire year, from the front 7 to the secondary, where if they come to play and really put a stop on Ray Rice in the running game, as well as stop Joe Flacco, I don't think the Ravens have a shot in this one.
I think the biggest point that you just pointed out that I want to second right now is that you pointed out the offensive line, which is gigantic, and it's been their number one asset throughout the course of the season. The defense has been great, but without this offensive line, which has started, by the way, every single game for them in its entirety, the entire year, when you get an offensive line gelling like that, they really work so well together. Now, Colin Kaepernick, I am not concerned with his turnover problems at all. He turned the ball over once against the Packers and bounced back and had probably the best game that anyone's had this entire postseason. So I'm not really worried about him, and as long as the offensive line keeps playing the way they've been playing throughout the entire year, I really love their chances. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys, what do you think about the whole kicking situation that's going on? I mean, David Akers has been really just terrible. Do you think that's going to play any sort of a role?
It could end up playing some sort of a role. They brought in Billy Cundiff a couple weeks ago, but then they cut him just to, I guess, shake up Akers a little bit. I was listening to an interview that former Jets special teams coordinator Mike Westhoff was a special teams coordinator for years and years, and he was saying what he was seeing in David Akers was his timing was just a little bit off. We'll see perhaps over the last couple of weeks he's worked on trying to get that back, because that would be huge, because we've seen over the past couple of years a lot of Super Bowls have come down to either last-minute kicks or, only 3 or 4 points difference at the end of the game. Field goals could play a huge role in this game.
It's strange because, when during his stint on the Eagles, Akers went out for years, one of the best kickers in the league. So it's very odd to see him come to San Francisco and suddenly have all this trouble. But like you said, with the timing situation, I just feel I have confidence in Akers that, over a 2-week span of preparing, getting practice and reps, and I think he'll be able to bounce back and just have it all focused for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the 2 weeks is big. I mean, he's a veteran. He's got to figure this thing out.
He's been here before.
And the one thing is, Akers actually has been known in his past for being a very, very good regular season kicker and not so good in the postseason. Maybe he could turn around and be the opposite this year. Maybe he could end up being clutch.
Yeah, a little bit of redemption.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this discussion. We have to take a quick break, but first we have a trivia question. There are 2 teams that have been to the Super Bowl 4 times and never won. Who are they? The answer right after this break. Before the break, we asked you which 2 teams went to the Super Bowl 4 times and never won. The answer was the Minnesota Vikings in the 70s and the Buffalo Bills in the early 90s. And now Chris is going to talk about what the Ravens need to do to emerge victorious in this Sunday's Super Bowl.
After a long and eventful season, the Baltimore Ravens have found themselves playing in Super Bowl 47. They started off as strong as any team in the NFL, going 9-2 heading into Week 13 against their AFC South rival Pittsburgh Steelers. They went on to drop their next 3 games in a row and firing offensive coordinator Cam Cameron after their Week 14 matchup against the Washington Redskins. Despite being 9-5 and in a prime position to make the playoffs, most people viewed the Ravens as a struggling team with no identity, whose greatest aspirations might as well be surviving an inevitable first-round playoff loss. Enter Sunday morning, February 3rd, 2013. The Baltimore Ravens are the champions of the AFC and just 60 minutes of football away from their second Super Bowl championship in franchise history. They face a tall task in the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, coming in winning 5 of their last 6, featuring their new-look pistol offense. This, I can assure you, is going to be as great as a Super Bowl matchup as we've seen, featuring 2 brothers as opposing head coaches, also something never seen before. For me, this game comes down to 3 pivotal matchups for the Baltimore Ravens. The first being the Ravens' front 7 versus Colin Kaepernick and his game-breaking speed. Kaepernick has been torching defenses on the ground with the read option offense. If Baltimore can stick to their assignments against the option and contain Kaepernick out of the pocket, they should have a very good shot at winning this. The second key matchup for me is Joe Flacco versus the San Francisco secondary. We all know Ray Rice is a terrific running back, but San Francisco has one of, if not the, best defenses in the league. Joe Flacco has to be able to make the big plays in the passing game with that big arm of his in order to give his team a shot to win. The third and final key matchup for me is going to be which team can win the turnover battle. Baltimore and San Francisco both have excellent defenses with players on them who are known for making big-time plays. Whichever team can force the other into making that one crucial mistake down the stretch is going to be in the better position to hoist that Super Bowl trophy when it is all said and done. All right, guys, 3 matchups. Turnovers, Kaepernick versus the Ravens front 7, and finally Flacco versus the Niners secondary.
All right.
Those matchups, who do you think is going to be able to win them?
I'm going to start this discussion by unfolding my hands, as my boss just told me to do. Okay. Secondly, I'm going to point out Joe Flacco's Fu-Manchu.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Thirdly, the turnovers is the main key to the game. It's been the key for the past 2. I mean, the 49ers are the best takeaway and not give up the ball team in the NFL over the past 2 years, and they're going to do it again. And the reason why is that their offense is so dynamic, but yet so simple in the same in completely different the same way, I should say. They run the ball so much, but they run it in so many different ways that they're able to stay unpredictable, but yet stay out of the line of fire, out of the. They don't risk turning the ball over too much. Mm-hmm. And when they do make Kaepernick throw the ball, he's got receivers running free. Michael Crabtree is a top 10 wide receiver in football right now. Vernon Davis is a top 10 tight end in football right now. They just always have someone to go to. It just seems like there's always someone open, or there's always a huge hole, and they don't turn the ball over, I think they're going to get Flacco to do something stupid in this game.
Yeah. I'd like to go on record as saying I absolutely hate the read option offense. I can't stand it. I can't stand when Washington runs it. I can't stand it when San Francisco runs it. I think it's foolish. It's a gimmick offense. It's a college offense that can't really work at the pro level for an extended period of time. I feel it's more like the Wildcat. It'll have some success. It's going to die out. It's not going to be the future of the league.
But one thing I want to point out with
that being said, I think it can beat the Ravens.
Comparing it to the Wildcat, though, the Wildcat was run by it's a direct snap to a running back.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a snap to a quarterback who could throw the football. I mean, Kaepernick has shown that he can throw out of the.
Don't knock Ronnie Brown's throwing skills.
Okay, but I mean, you're comparing Ronnie Brown and Colin Kaepernick right now. I don't know. To me, I think that the read option's here to stay. What do you think? Back me up here, Chris.
I think no, but I think the read option can be here to stay through San Francisco. But I don't think there's enough. One, quarterbacks that can run it efficiently enough with weapons on the outside, and two, offensive minds who can successfully run it, other than Kyle Shanahan in Washington. I think it's going to work from San Francisco. I think there's a very good chance that it can be caught up on, because you saw when was Kaepernick's best game? It was against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, but the Packers' defense is absolute
Don
garbage.
Capers was the defensive coordinator, and he didn't prepare his players for Kaepernick running. He wasn't sure if he was going to run.
The 49ers had not been a read option team.
This is true.
For
kind of broke that out.
Yeah.
They broke
that was
that out
more of
late.
a recent thing. Yeah.
And so when they broke that out against the Packers, I mean, you can't. I mean, I know the Packers' defense is terrible.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
It is.
But it is.
But it is.
So you can't really fault them too much for not being prepared for that. But I'm just saying, I think that a big part of the future of the read option in the NFL is going to come down to this game. If they can, if it succeeds in the Super Bowl. I mean, a read option team has never won the Super Bowl, so
it's because a read option team's never been in the Super Bowl.
Okay, but now they are. If they beat the Ravens, I think it's here to stay.
I don't know. If you get somebody who can throw the ball, though, it doesn't matter if they've got legs or not. He's going to be your quarterback. You're going to send your offensive arm. Look at Andrew Luck. He's not going to be running any read option offense anytime soon. He's going to have plenty of success in this league.
Do you guys want to cover the Ravens at all?
No. Yeah, I'll do it right now. I'll do it in 4 words. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis. Ed Reed's a ball hawk who's going to have 17 interceptions in this game. And Ray Lewis, I'm not saying he's going to kill anyone, but he's going to decapitate Colin Kaepernick in this game. We're going to see Alex Smith by the second.
Too soon.
Okay, well, first of all, he's a murderer, so.
This is true.
But I think he's in his last game of his career,
which is why I think gives him a huge advantage, because they're running off of Ray Lewis.
I think that Ray Lewis and Ed Reed are
on
old.
Their last legs. I do.
Yes,
this is true.
And I don't know. The 49ers are to me gonna run circles around this Ravens.
Go Packers!
All right. Well, before we say anything else that we're going to end up regretting, first of all, Ray Lewis's agent. You can send your hate mail to Kendall Hall, 2000 Pennington Road, Ewing, New Jersey, 08628. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the lineup. Lost in all the Super Bowl shuffle was a story that broke recently concerning Baltimore Ravens inside linebacker Ray Lewis. According to a report in Sports Illustrated, Lewis sought the help of a company called Sports with Alternatives to Steroids to speed his recovery from a torn tricep against the Jets early in the season. The product he allegedly received, deer antler extract, contains a human growth hormone that is banned by the National Football League. Naturally, when faced with questions from the media, Lewis used the Lance Armstrong, "I've never failed a test in my life" excuse, because that worked so well for Lance Armstrong. This story certainly answers questions that most fans had, including, how did he come back from that injury so quickly? The answer now seems simple. He took a banned substance. Some people might be surprised to hear accusations of this nature, but I, for one, am not. Ray Lewis has always been about one thing and one thing only: promoting Ray Lewis. From his pregame dance routine to testifying against his friends in a 2000 murder trial in exchange for a lesser charge, to his more recent attention-grabbing activities of crying during the Star-Spangled Banner and thanking God more than Tim Tebow ever has, Lewis has done a great job making sure he's the center of attention. Taking this banned substance is just another way that Ray Lewis can relentlessly promote himself and make sure that people are talking about him and not about the game.
I mean, well, first of all, let me start by saying that I honestly think that Ray Lewis is guilty here. I don't understand why no one is actually looking into this further. It's kind of like, oh, did you do it? No. Well, okay, we're going to keep asking you about it, but we're not going to look any further into it. I mean, we've seen multiple players in the past deny using performance-enhancing drugs.
I can think of about 4 or 5 off the top of my head.
That were later, proven guilty. So, and we just saw it with, as you mentioned, with
Lance
Lance
Armstrong.
So I don't understand why this isn't more of an issue that should be looking further into. Not to mention, I completely agree with you with the fact that this is all about Ray Lewis. I cannot turn on SportsCenter once and not see Ray Lewis on the TV. And does anyone even know who's on the 49ers defense?
Patrick Willis?
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Ray Lewis being just about Ray Lewis. I mean, from winding up as a fullback in the last play in Baltimore, to bringing the grass he can tear up. I mean, it's nonsense. And like you said, it wouldn't surprise me if he were to be guilty and took deer extract in order to come back late in the season for his last hurrah and be on TV and cry the national anthem. And I think it's ridiculous. It makes me wonder if the Ravens do go on to win this, and Ray Lewis ends up having a great game, or maybe not even a big role in the game, but still plays, and it turns out he's guilty and came back using a banned substance.
What happens?
Can it be like an NCAA thing where they take away the title?
I don't know.
It might be in the Ravens' best interest. I mean, this would never happen, but
course not.
to keep him from playing, that would never happen. But it might be in their best interest too, which is again, I see.
Well, this
unlikely.
could cause a complete. I mean, this would cause a complete uproar.
Absolutely.
If the Ravens win the Super Bowl and they go back and they find out that Ray Lewis has been using these.
Yeah, well, it's. I can't. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It's ridiculous that he's doing it. I don't know if Roger Goodell can actually do anything about this, because this was a story that broke, in the Miami Herald.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was
that
another
was
story.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
This is a story that broke in Sports Illustrated. So, there's no failed test. There's nothing officially that the NFL can do until he's proven guilty. Not that stopped Roger Goodell before, but there's nothing that they can really do to punish him. The way I see it is
Can't they walk into Ray Lewis? Can't they walk into the Ravens locker room right now and test it? I mean,
I don't know. There might be something in the collective bargaining agreement that would prevent them from testing specific players.
But if you're Roger Goodell, if he were to be guilty from causing a complete uproar, you got to go in there and somehow get this story straightened out.
You
can't have this looming over the day.
It's too far up in the air
Absolutely.
right now. This is the biggest game of the season in any sport,
and arguably the face of the Ravens franchise.
And there's
since
going
the
to be
90s.
a cloud over it the whole time it's being played, especially if Ray Lewis does well.
Yeah, and one of the things he said to his doctor after this injury, the doctor told him, yeah, no one's ever come back from this before. And he said to the doctor, no one's ever been Ray Lewis before. That doesn't show you who Ray Lewis is looking out for.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what is. But anyway, we've got to take one last break. We'll be right back with more here on the Lions Lineup on Lions Television. Welcome back. Before we get into this last segment, we here at Lions Lineup would like to congratulate former TCNJ offensive coordinator Bobby Acosta on accepting the head football coaching job at Widener University. Good luck in the new season, Coach Acosta. Recently, the Miami New Times reported that Alex Rodriguez, Melky Cabrera, and get this, Gio Gonzalez have been purchasing performance-enhancing drugs from a Miami-based company. Now, my question to you guys we just want to discuss is twofold. One, is this it for A-Rod? Will we ever see him again? And two, is this finally what's going to put a nail in the coffin for all of steroids in Major League Baseball?
It's not going to put a nail in any coffin because they're still out. I mean, until the last steroid has evaporated into thin air, someone's going to be taking him. But I hope that it's the end of Alex Rodriguez's career.
Yeah.
As a Yankee fan and a 49er fan, it would just as much please me to see A-Rod out of baseball at the end of this week than to see the 49ers win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, as far as the steroid thing, as long as there's a way and a possibility for some young shot player to come into the league and get that chance to the majors through using performance-enhancing drugs, it's gonna be taken, and someone's gonna fail it, and we're gonna see this again. It could be a superstar, it could be someone, but
I mean, look at the three names though that Joe just read
the
off.
Gio Gonzalez one is the most disappointing. I feel like,
but at the same time, at least Gio Gonzalez and Melky Cabrera were playing well on PEDs.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at what A-Rod was doing.
Well, this company did go out of business in 2009, so it's about as recently as then when he was kind of big with their World Series run that year. They had won 2 MVPs.
But before that, in the playoffs?
Before then, in the playoffs, of course, he hadn't been doing that well.
In a single game, but over the course of the season, he's been Alex Rodriguez. Back in 08,
so, okay,
09.
so you're
I'm not a big fan of, this guy can't perform, in the clutch or in the playoffs. Maybe it's just, this happened to be the time that he comes up and strikes out, and it's completely irrelevant whether it came in the ninth inning or the first inning in April or October.
Times, though. I mean, you can't say that he.
Well, he played very well in the postseason.
He played well in one postseason. How many did he hit under 200 in? I just want to ask you a question right now. You're put yourself in Brian Cashman's position.
Okay, I'm Brian Cashman.
You can't buy out. You end up not being able to buy out A-Rod's contract. Are you
I can void it. I'm going to try and void it.
Okay, so you're not able to void it. Are you still getting rid of him, or are you bringing him back next year?
Well,
because you owe him
if
money.
I can't get rid of him, I still owe him 5 years and $114 million because my boss George forced me, God rest his soul, forced me to sign him to an outrageous contract that was gonna go down as one of the worst, if not the worst, in baseball history.
So is he? When he comes
He's
back
got to
from
still
injury,
be on the Yankees.
When he comes back from injury, he's going to be in the Yankees starting lineup.
I can't tell if he'll be on the starting lineup, but he'll be on the 25-man roster because if we're paying him $114 million, we're not going to pay him $114 million to play for someone else.
You're going to have a $20 million backup third baseman.
We're the Yankees, Joe. This is
a
what we do.
$20 million backup third baseman.
Look, I mean, I guess you'd rather have that than have him playing, in Miami or somewhere else for $20 million.
I'd rather not.
I mean,
if I could find a GM stupid enough to take on that much of a contract,
you don't think they take him to Miami?
Maybe I'm looking at Kevin Towers out in Arizona.
I'm not saying that there's going to be a GM out there that takes the entire contract, but try to get him to take some of it.
It's not going to
whatever
happen.
You could get someone
no one's
going
to want to take on that contract.
I think
if you can find a GM stupid enough to
get
take
someone
on that
to take
contract,
$5 million of it and go out and sign someone for $5 million.
Then you still owe him $109 million.
But it's better
at that point. Are you going to find a better backup third baseman than Alex Rodriguez?
I think that there's many third basemen out there that are better than A-Rod.
Well, that's not even a question.
So
I asked that question.
Go.
I bet.
I'd take Brett Lowry. He's not over him. I'd take whoever the Red Sox are going to put out there.
Yeah.
Will Middlebrooks?
Middlebrooks is good.
I don't know. Anyway, I think we're getting the wrap-up signal here, so we're out of time. That'll do it for this edition of Lions Lineup. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to become a part of Lions Lineup or work for LTV, email our account at ltv@tcnj.edu. For Chris Strabick, Joe Caputo, and all of us here at LTV, I'm Joe Vasile. We'll see you next time.